I don't buy the idea that, the society the way it is right now, it has to be this way. Someone's always going to have to work at Burger King. Someone's always going to have to. I don't buy that. I think people are pretty fucking flexible. If you look at the broad spectrum of humans and human behavior from different cultures all over the world, it's pretty obvious to me that there's a lot of different ways that people can act. We don't have to have fast food workers. We don't have to have people who work shit jobs. We don't have to. We just need to figure out how to restructure society so everybody somehow or another plays a part, has something to contribute, has something to share. I mean, that's what a real society is supposed to be like. I give you some coconuts, you give me some fish. We make a deal, and you do it back and forth and left and right. And when there's nothing to contribute, then you start looking, the president needs to give us jobs. We need jobs. So instead of something to contribute, you just find something to do with your time. And then it becomes about doing that more than it becomes about finding something to contribute. So society gets wrapped around becoming a part of a machine. Society, instead of becoming a bunch of individuals that are expressing themselves in unique ways, and everybody sort of borrows and shares and sells this and you sell that, and we all sort of figure out how we can contribute in a society, we got sidetracked and diverted into these boxes that they call companies and corporations, and we got stuck into these containers they call cubicles or offices, and we got forced into this system. So our time, instead of it being invested in making pottery or fixing cars or doing something where you have a passion or you have some sort of a connection to, instead of that, you've sold your life to sit in a box and work for a machine, an uncaring machine that demands productivity. Doesn't understand you, it doesn't want to understand you. It has a bunch of very strict things in order to keep the humor at a minimum in the office, just in case one of you fuckheads says some stupid sex jokes that gets them sued and they have to give somebody $1 million. So get it together, and this is your life now. No natural behavior. Everybody's wearing clothes they don't want to wear. Everybody's showing up and doing something they don't want to do, they have no connection to. That's the problem with our society. And then what's the reward for all this stuff? Go home, get a big TV. Go home, you're going to get a shiny belt buckle. You're going to get a nice purse. You're going to wear shoes that you couldn't afford last week. You're going to get that dream car. And every week we're chasing down this new object. And every week we're trying to fill this hole in this sad shadow of a life that we've been left with after work. That you work 8 to whatever hours a day plus commuting, and then you're like this. And that's your life. That's your real fucking life. All that other stuff is not your life anymore. All that other stuff is work. And most of us have committed to that. I know you've been there before, and I've been there before. And we understand that it's a trap because we got out of it. But for the people that are in it, a lot of times they don't even understand it's a trap. They just think it's a good job. They think they got dental. I'm doing really good. I got my own parking spots, got my name on it. And you're just a piece of a heartless, shitty machine that makes money.
The drunkenness, the addiction, the squandering of endless hours in front of video games and mindless pursuits, these are not some problem that must be overcome to make us better participants in society. These are symptoms. These would not exist if we were in a life that we really cared about. Without that aim, without that magnetic pole that directs our actions and that gives us this filter, okay, what am I going to do today? What makes sense? Without that, then we're lost. And we kind of reach for this, we reach for that. And the emptiness that we feel, we fill it up. We're driven then to fill it up with whatever can distract us from it. Or maybe we take on fake goals, substitutes for the life aim or the life purpose that we're really craving. Higher levels in World of Warcraft or something like that, more points in the video game, more money, more of something, but not the real thing that we really want.
Every milestone of civilization was once a utopian fantasy. Just think of the end of slavery, democracy, equal rights for men and women, was all dismissed as crazy once. So we know by studying history that ideas can and do change the world. But what are our ideas today? So what we actually need is, I think, is a new image of human nature. And if you watch the news all the time, at the end of the day, you'll have a really bleak image of humanity. Because the news is always about things that are going wrong. It's always about these exceptions. Here's a radical idea for you. Most people are pretty nice. It's really true. If you ask people, for example, what they would do with a basic income, about 99% say, well, I've got dreams, I've got ambitions. I'm not going to sit on the couch, I'm going to do something useful with it. And indeed, they're right. This is indeed what we find in all the experiments that have been conducted around the globe with a basic income. But if you then ask people, what would other people do with a basic income? Most of them answer, other people. Well, human nature. They're probably lazy, gonna watch Netflix all the time, drugs, etc. So I think we need to update our view of humanity, and then suddenly new ideas start to make sense.
The United States economic system was created and designed before women had a place in the public sphere. We didn't have a voice in the public sphere. And raising children was just seen as woman's work. But we have a voice now. But our voice should be used not just to prop up the system, but to change the system. And we should not just be thinking about the power that we do not yet have, all of which is still important. But we should be thinking about what are we going to do with the power that we do have? That's what American women need to be thinking about right now. What about the power that we do have? And it cannot just be about us. It has got to be about the children. That's a natural order in every species. In every advanced species that survives and thrives, a common anthropological characteristic is the fierce behavior of the adult female of that species when she senses there is a threat to her cubs. There's a threat to our cubs here, ladies and gentlemen. Not only the millions of American children who are hungry and uneducated and traumatized every single day, but also the fact that 12,000 children on this planet starve every day. So when the G7 meets, and they meet at all their fancy meetings in Europe and everywhere else, why isn't it first and foremost on the agenda how the advanced democracies of the world are going to deal with global poverty? And why isn't the United States first and foremost in setting that on the agenda? It is time for the visionaries. It is time for the healers. It is time for the lovers. It is time for the humanitarians. It is time for the artists. It is time for all of those of us who know that the heart should lead the head and not the other way to stand up. Because right now, hatred is politicized, ladies and gentlemen. Bigotry is politicized. Racism is politicized. Anti-Semitism is politicized. Homophobia is politicized. Islamophobia is politicized. Xenophobia is politicized. We better politicize love.
Imagine if every company said, send us that shirt on your back, that smartphone, that plastic bottle, return it to us and we'll turn it back into something new. We'd have a loop here, we'd have another loop over here, we'd have a series of segmented loops. Nature would laugh at us. Nature doesn't turn a peacock back into a peacock and a daffodil back into a daffodil. Nature creates an ecosystem of resource use. She turns things back into building blocks of oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and builds them up again, regenerating life again and again from building blocks through an ecosystem. No one company can create an ecosystem. We need cities and we need states. We need the world to work together to create ecosystems of plastics reuse, of textiles reuse, of metals reuse, so that we work with and within the cycles of the living world. We mimic nature.
Why is it that countries which we call strong are so powerful in creating wars, but are so weak in bringing peace? Why is it that giving guns is so easy, but giving books is so hard? Why is it that making tanks is so easy, but building schools is so hard. We are living in the modern age, and we believe that nothing is impossible. We have reached the moon 45 years ago, and maybe we'll soon land on Mars. Then, in this 21st century, we must be able to give every child quality education. Dear sisters and brothers, dear fellow children, we must work, not wait. Not just the politicians and the world leaders. We all need to contribute. Me, you, we. It is our duty.